Hi guys.
Hello. How's everybody?
Everybody all right? Hi Ridgeback GMA.
I'm just
Let's
pulling up
wait.
chat.
Let's wait for another minute so before we start. Hi Sarah Jane. Let's wait for another minute. Danielle, you okay?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
I'm just trying to log back in here, so I changed my
Okay.
password. Two
Hi
ticks.
Karen. Hi Janice. It's nice to see so many people in here again. Hi Jennifer. Yeah, today we have Danielle back. Hi Danielle.
Hi. I'm back. Like the
Hi
return of the
NLP.
Mac.
You're back, all healthy and good again.
Well, I wouldn't push it that far. But I'm definitely better than last week.
So that's cool. Hi, Canadian Mama. Hi,
How,
Jennifer.
how is everybody in chat? Everybody good?
Seems like it. I'm good. Danielle is good. Everybody else is good. It's nice to see so many people in here midweek. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. I know I keep forgetting that it's not Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. And since I'm off, we have a little bit more time. And since Danielle is better, since she got her injections.
I know. Since I can open my mouth more than a centimeter.
Right.
Are talking like this last week?
Hi, Belle. All right, I would say let's start. What we're gonna present to you today, guys, is Shanann's last movements. We want to solve the Apple iWatch misery once and for all. And yeah, I think what we have is kind of crucial because I was like myself blown away when I found it today. I'm sure somebody else mentioned it before, but I've never seen it on YouTube or anywhere else. Have you, Danielle?
No, definitely not. I know it's something that you and I discussed, and I explained to you. I don't use iPhone at all. Haven't done for more than a decade. So, iPhones are kind of a little bit out of my territory. But you're just like a genius with them. So when you explained it to me, I was like, sorry, what? But I had looked at the other stuff that you're going to go into, but when you put the two together, that's when it makes sense. That's when it really ties into what we've talked about in our very first live. And as you'll
Right.
see, folks, when you go through everything, it'll all hopefully make perfect sense, because it certainly did to me when Tanya showed me.
Yeah. Well, I'm an iPhone girl all my life, so I only use Apple devices anyway. So yeah, I had to look back a little bit on the Series 3 Shanann was using because it's kind of old, if I can say that. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. And just keep in mind, if you have any question or something, I read the chat on my phone, so I see your questions. All right, so let's get into this.
And don't forget, guys, if Tanya stops speaking for more than 30 seconds, we're going to start panicking. It's just falling asleep again on me.
No, not when I speak.
just when I speak, or when I speak about Lauren.
I'm scared, man. If I would have ever, if I would have ever have Lauren Arnold on my panel, it's like, oh my God, I would be scared I fall asleep.
Or Zentner.
Oh my
Zentner
God,
asking you questions, you'd be nodding
that's
off.
even worse. That's even worse. All right, let's get into this. Gonna make it bigger for you guys. So, what we're showing today is obviously the last movements. And where was Shanann's Apple Watch? So we get right into it. The iWatch Series 3. The iWatch was given to Shanann by her mom, Sandy. Shanann later on transferred her iWatch to her existing cell phone plan. Underneath, you see an excerpt of the discovery where it says, Rusek also told me that she had bought Shanann an Apple iWatch and the ID was her plan number and it's blacked out. She said she had purchased it under her T-Mobile plan, but then Shanann had transferred it to her own AT&T account. I think that meant AT&T. I think that's a
Yes.
typo.
Yeah.
So she identified the iWatch as being a 38 millimeter SILAI white in color. And then as you can see on them two pictures I put up, Shanann used to change her wristband for the Apple Watch. For the ones who are not familiar with Apple Watches, you can change your wristbands. So Shanann always wore her watch on her left wrist, and there's a reason for it. The reason you should wear your iWatch on your left wrist is because the crown measures your heartbeat and all the features the watch has. So therefore, the crown should be as tight and as close to your wrist as possible, which you wouldn't have if you put it on your right.
Right.
So then here are some features of the Series 3, like activity, health, GPS, it's splash, swim, and surf proof, so waterproof. She can make and receive calls. She can text and receive text messages. She can call emergencies. And yeah, that's a little overview of what her watch can do. Obviously, there's always updates and stuff, but at that time, this was the basics the watch could do.
Right, because that watch was released at the end of 2017, that particular one,
You're
wasn't
right.
it? The version 3 or whatever they call it, the
Yeah,
series 3. So I mean,
yeah.
it was new for then. Although we're saying, it's not all singing,
It's
all
new for
dancing now.
then,
It was
but
new for
looking
then.
right, but looking back
Yeah.
at it now, it's really old.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is unknown if Shanann actually signed up an extra plan for using cellular. Cellular is the use of the watch independent from your iPhone. That means your watch can call, receive calls. It's basically independent. You don't have to have your phone nearby. But we don't know really if she had an extra plan since it's not known anywhere, and I didn't read up on it anywhere. So
From my personal opinion, I'm just going to put it out there. Knowing what we know about Shanann, I can't imagine her not having the highest plan. I mean, they had
mhm.
the highest and the best of the best of everything, and the best packages and the TV, and the
Right.
iPads and the iMac, and I personally can't imagine that she wouldn't have, but that's just pure speculation.
Yeah, and also the iPhone, the iWatch works with an eSIM. That means you don't need actually an additional plan to it because all your data you have available on your iPhone, if you sync it up, you have the same amount just on your watch. So in order to be able to use the built-in cellular feature, you would require a carrier service plan for your iPhone that specifically includes support for the Apple Watch, and she obviously had that. So can you add additional cellular to your Watch Series 3? If you are currently unable to sign up with a supported carrier, then you cannot currently use the built-in cellular feature on Apple Watch Series 3. That means if her provider or carrier doesn't support the Apple Watch, then she cannot sign up for an additional plan either.
Right, but AT&T, I believe, did support it.
They
Isn't
did,
that
yeah.
right?
They
Yeah.
do. Yeah, that's the main carrier in the US is anyway. So once paired with your iPhone, the watch will automatically transfer all data on the phone. For example, a step counter, health data, your phone book, like all your contacts will be also available on your watch. Also your calendar, your appointments, your scheduled stuff, it will all show up independently of your phone on your watch. And the little icon you see on the right is the app where you can basically the app on your phone. This is where you put all your stuff from you know, you can basically have different phases of the clock, how it's gonna be looking like, and you know, you can all do that on there. So Shanann mentioned to a friend during her stay in Arizona, she forgot her bathing suit and my watch. I was literally looking for 5 hours today to find that text again. I do know I had it screenshotted, but I somehow lost it and it was driving me insane. I know it's out there. I just can't remember if it was on a post she commented or if she actually sent that in a message to a friend, but I definitely know it was there.
Yeah, you
So,
mentioned that to me a long time ago.
yeah. So, Shanann, as you can see, since we now know she's wearing her watch on the left wrist, the left picture is the last picture of Shanann on the airport, and she did not have her watch on. And when she got home, obviously, she did not have it on as well. So, but where was her watch? And I'm pretty, I don't know why nobody, you know, why people always say, oh, her watch was never found, or her watch was circulating somewhere, or
Yeah.
somebody had it. I don't understand because her watch was thrown in between the cushions, just like her phone. And you see an excerpt of the screenshot of the discovery. When they asked Chris Watts after he murdered Shanann, he threw her cell phone and Apple Watch on the couch. So Nick obviously didn't see the watch when he found the phone, but both devices were in the cushions. And you can see underneath that the watch was recovered on the 15th of August 2018. That's her Apple Watch, golden pink in color, 38 millimeters. And Watts's watch actually was green. So that solved basically the mystery of where her watch was.
Right.
So, according to the router activity, Shannon's watch never disconnected or reconnected to the home router. Hence, the watch was at home the whole time and probably off if it wasn't on the plugged in, like on that little wireless plug that comes with the iWatch. I don't know if they had it back then, but now they do. So it definitely was at home because last time it locked in was, I think, when they got home from North Carolina and never ever disconnected or reconnected back on. So then we're moving on to the last movements. As I said in our previous live, and I explained the item number. So item 40 was listed as Chris Watt's work phone. And underneath it's a little screenshot of the discovery where the forensic analyst said, I manually reviewed the phone's content and documented several artifacts found within the phone to include the health data section and the location service section of the phone. Those photographs include physical activities as such as steps and other movement-related activity dated the 12th of August to the 13th of August. The location services noted activity in Roggen, which were which is Service 319 is located in Roggen on August the 13th. All of this information will be available within the processing photos for the device. Below are some of the screenshots found within the processing photos. So this is actually the screenshot they put up, and you see exactly the movement he made. So there was no movement from 6 p.m. August 12th to 5 a.m. 2018, August 13th, 2018. This is, like I said, his work phone. You see on the right, no movement from 6 till 5 a.m. So at 5 a.m., it's just under 0.2 miles walking distance, which is nothing. At 6 a.m., very little walking distance. At 7 a.m., under 0.2 miles walking distance, less than at 5 a.m. Obviously, he was on site there. At 8 a.m., little over 0.2 miles walking distance, and at 9 a.m., very little walking distance. So the total of August the 12th till August the 13th from his work phone was 0.63 miles. That's approximately 1,330 steps altogether in those 2 days. So, like, he was lazy.
Yeah, that's very little movement, isn't it? Especially for a guy.
It's very little movement, but this tells us he had his phone on him from 5 a.m.
Right, so he was in work mode.
Right. So as you can see on the left, CW took way more steps at 8 a.m. than when he killed Shanann and the kids on the site. And as you can see on the right, CW did not carry his work phone from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. that day, as well as from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And when I say, like, let's say that little bar is at 3 o'clock, then it always means from 3 to 4. So 1 bar is basically 1 hour. I hope everybody understands so far.
Yeah, I have no clue about iPhone, and I'm keeping up with you. I'm not
Okay.
completely technical at all. So if I can understand it, everyone in chat will understand it.
Okay. So we move on to item 41. It's listed as Chris Watt's personal phone. There you can also see the bar starts August the 12th at 12 p.m., moves on until 12 p.m. August the 13th. And you see 4 a.m., very little movement. This tells us he had his phone as well as his work phone on him from 4 a.m. Could be 4:23 because that's when the movement started in the house at 4:23. So if it says 4 a.m., it could as well be 4:23 or 4:26. He definitely had it on him. So at 5 a.m., again, walking under 0.2 miles. 6 a.m., very little movement. Obviously, he was driving. 7 a.m., same thing, walking under 0.2 miles. But walking under 0.2 miles, but on site texting and calling coworkers, fixing a leak, and killing his kids. And he did all that with walking under 0.2 miles. That's
crazy.
That's 40. So at 8 a.m., no movement at all. This is when the co-workers start arriving on site. Then at 9 a.m., again, very little movement. 10 a.m., no movement. And this is when he slowly starts going to Survey 1029. 11 a.m., very little movement. And at 12 p.m., walking under 0.2 miles again. So as you can see, the walking and running distance, he walks more after 12 p.m. than when he did killing his family. Then he climbs no flights. the phone detects no flights being climbed, no steps going up or down until being at home. Obviously, the iPhone locks from approximately 1:30, 2 o'clock. When he arrives at home, he obviously goes upstairs and downstairs quite a bit. That makes a total of 11 flights. Yeah, 11 flights on August the 13th. And his step count is basically the same. More steps after 12 o'clock than when he killed his family.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. So he basically, when he got home, he walked around more and climbed upstairs and went up and down and all over the place than when he killed his family on site or when he killed Shanann in the morning. Okay. Then please keep in mind his work phone was not connected or synced up to his Apple Watch, since it was Anadarko's property and not his own. His personal phone was connected and synced to his Apple Watch, so everything the watch registered would have been transferred to his personal phone. That means if he had an independent plan for his watch, the watch data would be just coming on top, additional to what his phone would register. So then let's move on to item 42, that's Shanann's personal phone. You can see it quite clearly here. Approximately 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Well, Shanann was on the flight to Denver, hence no to little movement. You see that quite clearly to the left, in between those little bars, when it goes from August the 12th midnight to August the 13th. August the 13th, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., walking distance over 0.2 miles. And from 2 a.m., no movement whatsoever.
Tanya, I just want to say to Brooke in chat, I was just watching chat there. Brooke, you're the first person to take the words right out of my mouth. So Brooke has just said, so if this transpired this way, he couldn't have disposed of anyone.
Exactly. And Brooke, we're getting to this.
Yeah, Brooke, keep watching.
This blew my socks off.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I was calling Danielle on the spot. Okay. So there was no movement until obviously Shanann's phone was found and turned on. Baumhofer then took Shanann's phone and it was processed with evidence and all that. So you can see here again quite clearly, she took a total of 4,043 steps altogether on August the 12th and included August the 13th. No movement from around between 1 and 2 a.m. August the 13th. And then you can see clearly 3 p.m. on the right. Her total steps on August the 13th was only 1,581 steps. So, getting off the plane, getting the luggage and all that sorts of things, walking to the car and all that. So then at 3 o'clock, when her phone was found, it was obviously turned on and then it counted steps again, which is quite normal because they were walking around with it, and then Baumhofer took it, and you can see at around 10 p.m. Somebody turned it on or put it into flight mode or from flight mode and was processing it in evidence. So you can see quite a lot what the iPhone tells us, and this is all accurate information. So Sunday the 12th, her iPhone tells us a lot. Shanann took 3,792 steps, that equals 1.4 miles walking distance, counted until she boarded her flight. The exact time she sat down in her seat on the airplane was 10:55 p.m. This you can see underneath the step count. 10:55 p.m. The exact time Shanann woke up is 6:20 a.m. The exact time Shanann slept for 6 hours and 21 minutes. The exact time Shanann went to bed on August the 11th would be 11:59 p.m. on August the 11th. So this is it is accurate
Yeah,
information.
it's pretty bang on. I mean, iPhone is known to be spectacularly accurate with this stuff.
It is accurate. Some people trying to say, nah, it has a delay in this. It's no such thing as a delay. So it is really accurate. We know basically everything.
Well, the evidence tech as well, who is an IT specialist, isn't going to have included this if it didn't have any accuracy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they hoped that they could get any information out of this, but obviously they stopped investigating.
Sorry to interrupt you, Tanya. Irvin, I remember going back about 5 or 6 years, and my brother's really big into iPhone as opposed to Android, and I remember seeing him sitting, shaking his phone up and down at the side of the sofa, and I was thinking, what are you doing? And his life insurance was done in a way that he gets a discount if he does so many steps every day. And I remember him being really furious about 2 years ago that iPhones had updated and come on so much that he couldn't actually do this anymore to get around doing his daily steps to keep his life insurance policy amount down. So he basically had to step up and actually get moving. So I think they used to be quite sort of what's the word, you could manipulate the walking thing, but I don't think you can in recent years. I think it's pretty on the money, and we know that Shanann and Chris use these and actively participated in tracking things like steps, and of course she's all into Thrive and everything, so she's not going to be wanting to have those reports turned on if she's not going to use them. So I would say they're pretty accurate from what I read online, and as I say, I'm not an iPhone person at all, so I can only read reviews, but all the technical reviews of their capability now from the last sort of 3 to 4 years has just been that they're all consistent, that they are really, really accurate. There's obviously glitches in software anywhere, whether it be Apple or anybody else, but I don't think it can be manipulated the way it could be when the technology was first put into the software sort of 10 years plus ago. I think it was really open to manipulation, but not now.
Right. So Urban is asking, can shaking the phone or device be counted as a walk or movement? No.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah. Because how the iPhone and also iWatch is operating is they measure your elevation from sea level. That means if you lift it up and shake it, it won't, count as a step or something. You have to physically walk to get a step count.
Right.
So on August the 13th, Shanann took 1,581 steps, counting from when she last sat down on the plane at 10:53 p.m. The phone and also as well as the watch, they operate like this. When her step count stopped once she sat on the seat on the airplane at 10:55, but then the phone goes back like a little, about 2 minutes or 3, to give you exact and accurate data of basically it's counting back what your behavior was. Have you been standing up and stuff like that? So it calculates, so you get exact data. That's why it goes about 2 minutes back. That's 0.58 miles in total until the last movement. So before I continue, I want you to understand how an iPhone or iWatch counts flights, stairs. How does an iPhone calculate flights climbed? Same goes for the iWatch as well. The new device can measure elevation. This is what I just mentioned. such as tracking flights of stairs using an inbuilt barometer. It works by analyzing relative air pressure. This is what I was just uh, saying to Irvin. All of this information will appear in the iPhone's health app, which both of them had, tracking how often you climb stairs and other related metrics. Are iPhone flights climbed accurate? The elevation gain is accurate. It says right in the health app, a flight of stairs is counted as approximately 10 feet, 3 meters of elevation, gain approximately 16 steps. So on my iWatch, I tried it out this morning. It says accuracy of the flight of stairs is when I climb from 13 to 16 steps. And then, of course, there are some other components coming to it, like they measure your blood pressure or your heart rate, because an untrained and non-sporty person like me would like cough their their lungs out at the end of taking steps. So it would also, so my iWatch would definitely after 12 steps know that I'm super exhausted and I'm
Yeah.
smoking as well. So it would count it as a flight of stairs.
Tanya, can I just check for Irvin in chat?
Yeah.
That is, it's not an app as such. That is the standard installed software that's on the Apple devices, isn't it? It's not an additional app that Shanann and Chris used. It was actually the software that comes on your
Yeah.
iPhone and your
Yeah.
watch. So for me, like I'm Samsung, I'm Android. So when I turn mine on, I have my Samsung Health app that automatically is
It's
there
on there.
if I
Yeah.
want to use it. So you either able it or disable it. Disabled mostly for me. But I have to say, the Apple people really do seem to track theirs so much better than Android. It just seems to be so much more user friendly. But that's just my opinion from what I've seen.
Right. Yeah, no, it's the little application I showed you before is when you install or sync your watch to your phone, then you
Right.
can operate your phone from your watch and vice versa.
Yeah.
So now you ready for this, guys? Remember, I just showed you her steps and the walking and running distance in miles, right? So Shanann climbed 3 floors at 1:51 a.m., meaning we remember at least 13 steps before the iWatch or iPhone recognizes a flight of stairs. She climbed at least 39 stairs, one flight approximately 13 steps, and the movement stopped at 1:51 a.m. exactly.
Right. So three minutes. This is what I was saying to Tanya because I had to wrap my mind around this. 1:48, she comes in the door. 1:51, all movement stops. So that's movement and climbing of stairs. So all
Right.
movement in 3 minutes. In
Yeah.
three minutes from opening that door, she did
Yeah.
3 flights of stairs.
Right. Exactly. It's
So
just,
this changes what, if there's 10 theories out there, this knocks 8 of them out of the water immediately.
yeah. So it just, as we spoke beforehand, Danielle, like
Yeah.
this just made up my mind completely. So I don't believe that the kids were there or anything. I just don't believe it because this is the ultimate proof, in my opinion, of course, that, climbing 3. And you also look at this like this, in 3 minutes, running up the stairs, running down the stairs, running up the stairs, she must have been in some sort of panic. So what did
Yeah,
she see?
100%.
What did she
Yeah.
see? Or, that she went up or down and up and down and up and 3 times.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's where our theory then comes in
I mean,
regarding.
she was pregnant,
Yeah.
and I'm not pregnant, but if I run upstairs and downstairs and looking for my kids or whatever, I'm out of breath Like I don't think I could make it in 3 minutes in, in a normal speed, but she must have been running like three
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, there's no doubt in 3 minutes, and we're assuming that when she got to the bottom or top of a flight of wherever she was heading, she had to look around where whatever level of the house she was on. And if it,
Right,
you're going to get into obviously what we think happened in a second in regards to this um data. So if that's what we think, then she had time to check bedrooms and come back downstairs.
right.
Um, but guys in chat that are saying about Bella maybe waking up seeing something or that kind of thing.
No,
That's kind of what we're getting to. Like that's not a possibility because you have to factor into this 3 minutes and three floors and three flights of stairs that from 2 a.m. there was no movement on the main floor. And then you have to
exactly.
factor in what Tanya just told you about Chris's movement. Okay, factor that in too. So you've
Right,
got three moving parts here. You've got Shanann's movement,
right.
and then you've got Chris's lack of climbing any stairs,
Yeah,
but he's still moving. And then you've got the main floor is out of the question, guys. It's out of the equation. You have to take that out immediately. So there was no movement on the main floor between
right.
2 o'clock and was it 2 and 4? Is that right?
4:23. This is
Yeah.
when he opened the basement door.
Yeah.
Okay. So the steps to the basement is 14 and the steps to the bedroom is 16. So was he waiting in the basement and that's why his phone or watch did not register any stairs? Keep in mind or remember, I told you before, the iPhone and iWatch only registers a flight of stairs if you have at least 13 steps, and Shanann had like 39.
Right.
So that leaves only one option. Shanann arrives at home, immediately goes upstairs. That's flight count 1. CCW and the kids aren't there. Goes downstairs. That's flight count 2. Goes down to basement. That's flight count 3. And Shanann took at least 39 stairs, and the flights climbed is 3 according to her data. And we believe that the kids were taken out during the 111-minute phone call to Kissinger. This is what we showed you in a previous live when he went out and this car showed up on his driveway. The kids never been upstairs in the first place. No flights climbed on CW's phone, although he carried his phone with him all the time as it registered movement, but no flights climbed. So, and then we were thinking, maybe the kids, since CW never climbed any stairs, because he only climbed stairs when he got back home, but not previously. Was that makeshift bed in the living room? Was it where the kids were held until they were brought out? On that Sunday? Were the kids even upstairs in the first place? Because then we would have seen him climbing stairs, or his phone would have registered climbing stairs, but he did not. So going up to the oil tanks, step count would be 23 steps per flight. CW claimed to have been going up with Cece, down to get Bella, up again and back down, which would have been 92 steps in total. His iPhone or watch would have 100% register flights climbed, and
No
it
doubt
did
about
not.
it. No doubt about it. Even the angle of those steps, they are pretty much 45-degree angle stairs. There's
Right.
no way. There's no way that that watch wouldn't have registered those as individual flights.
No. And when I go back a little bit to show you, you see, he had his watch, his phone on him all the time, like from literally 4 o'clock in the morning until he goes to bed. He had his watch, his phone all the time on him. So for him, not for his phone or watch, not registering any flights climbed is just ridiculous. This is just not happening. This is
Yeah.
I'm even lost for words because
Yeah.
this
So,
can't
guys,
be
that's why I kept asking Tanya over and over again. I'm sure I was driving her crazy. I was like, but hold on, what about this? Hold on, what about that? And I see you guys sort of doing the same in chat. And I said, I don't want to sound sort of lectury. I'm just literally saying, I get what you're saying because I had the same thoughts. But until we actually sat and went, well, actually, no, that can't be because, he was moving, but he wasn't he didn't set the phone down somewhere. Okay, he had the phone because the phone is moving, but it's
right.
just not going up or down steps. So if you see on the screen now, see the pink neon box, so that's from midnight. Because if you're looking at it on the phone, it's really tiny, and but I'm looking on the laptop as well here, and so the left hand side of the pink neon box is midnight. Okay, and then it's going right across to when he gets back to the house. The first red column is him getting back when Coonrod and NA are there. Okay, and then he
Yeah,
starts
that's 2 p.m.
going up and
around
downstairs.
2 p.m.
So see that entirety from midnight onwards, guys, that counts him out of running up and down the stairs from the basement to the main floor, or doing runs up and down stairs preparing, lunch, or backpacks for the kids, or whatever. It puts out of the question him dragging a dead or incapacitated Shanann downstairs. It
No.
puts out of the question him being up in the bedroom level, murdering Shanann or the children. It
Yeah.
just it takes all of that out of the equation. Like
Right.
that's how this is digital evidence, and this is you can't mess with this. And this is what it's telling us is that his phone was moving, but he was not going up or downstairs. So if he wasn't going up or downstairs, the only possibility was there was no movement on the main floor. So he had to be in the basement, and it has just enough stairs that it would potentially didn't catch it as a floor,
Right.
because it's just on the borderline of how many stairs. So he could have got down to the basement, and that's what Tanya and I, are really thinking is she came in the door, went straight upstairs, because remember, keep in mind 3 minutes. So she came in the door, dumped her bag, went straight upstairs, saw whatever she saw. In my opinion, for example, saw he's not in bed, then went into the kids, they're not there. Came flying down the stairs, straight down into the basement to see if he was down there. He's obviously in the house somewhere, so he's obviously in the basement because there's no
And this is what freaked her out, I believe.
yeah, because there's no
Not seeing
motion.
her kids in the bed.
Yeah, I think that's why she moved so fast down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I think she got down to the basement, and I don't think there was kids there. I think the kids were gone. It always bothered me that there was no movement between 2 and 4 on the main floor. And I said to Tanya initially, Tanya has always said from the minute I've talked to Tanya, she's always said those little setups of the little blankies and the sort of almost beds in the living room level. She's always said she thought the kids never went to bed on that Sunday night. That's always been her stance. And I sort of couldn't wrap my head around it. But seeing this now, we've both agreed that Shanann coming in the front door, that lock, and how supposedly light sleeper the kids were, that would have woken the children. He's never going to take that chance. Never. So
Right.
I don't think the kids ever went to bed. I think the kids were there and sat up and were taken out when the cars were coming and going from the front of the property between 9:30 and 11:20 when he returned. I
Right.
think I think that's what happened. And when she came in, she went upstairs, maybe quite casually, saw no Chris, checked in the rooms, saw no girls, flew down the stairs to the basement. There's your 3 flights of stairs. and he's in the basement with whoever else. But you have to keep in mind, he does not go back up at
No,
all, period.
no.
As the Americans say, he doesn't go back up because it would register a flight of stairs.
It would definitely register because it counts or measures the elevation. So even if we have some in Ridgeback saying she takes one step at a time and he skips stairs, that's quite impossible because, like I said, it measures the elevation. It's
Yeah,
not
as opposed to
only
the number of
that it,
steps.
that it measures the steps, it measures the elevation above sea level or down sea level. So that's not a possibility. You
Right.
cannot trick. You can basically not trick that.
Yeah, and then this brings into play then. I mean, I don't really don't want us to sound, guys, like we're saying, oh, we're only basing our content off our first video and we'll never deviate from that, because believe you me, if you were flying the wall to Tanya and I's conversations, we are open to anything.
Yeah.
And we do sort of sometimes come across things and have a moment where we're, oh my goodness, um, maybe this completely blows out of the water our theory, but then everything has always tracked back. We've always, every single thing has tracked back. I really want to promise you that it's not a situation of confirmation bias happening. We really do try and dispute ourselves, um but it really tracks back to the children were taken out of the house. I
Yes.
mean, and I see people talking about the dogs. That was literally the next thing I was about to say. You know, how I've looked at a lot of cases, a lot, and dogs are used a lot here in the UK, like a lot. And I recently watched a program about the dogs that sense even the water leakage in the water system in England, and they can detect water flowing under like 15, 16 meters of ground, like a little tiny, tiny, tiny crack in a pipe. Like these dogs are unbelievable. Like they're unreal. The things that they are trained to do, and you've got your cadaver dogs, and then you've got hounds, and both went into the Watts residence. Two different
Yeah,
sets of
and
dogs
even
went in.
the one dog handler said when she suggested going upstairs, and he's like, "Nah, there was no dead body in here."
Yeah, that's right. She didn't even want to go upstairs. She thought it was pointless.
He,
Sorry, he. Sorry, yes,
yeah,
with the black dog, isn't that right?
right.
Yeah, he thought that was pointless, because he said there was just there was no point at all. And I mean, guys, we get into the postmortem stuff and the autopsy stuff in the next live, but a little bit of it that comes into play here is this whole thing people are arguing back and forwards about when decomposition and when a cadaver dog hits. It's instantaneous, guys. Sometimes people who die a natural death give off the odor of death before they're even dead,
Yeah,
because sometimes parts of them have already started the decomposition process. Um, their cells and they're at a cellular level are already not receiving the same oxygenation, and various factors are at play, bacteria are at play, that a lot of times often people can say they smell death, and it's a real thing. I can't explain it to you. You have to I don't want to say smell it for yourself, but you really do. It's like smell-o-vision. I can't explain it to you. Um, Hopefully, I'm going to show you clips in the autopsy section from another really famous lady who's online. It's an embalmer who's called Carrie, the mortician, I believe. Very famous for her videos. She explains things so well. And she's in the States, and she even explains that you can't describe it. It's a smell that lingers. Um, I mean, it's instantaneous in the sense that it's there, but our noses don't pick it up right away as human beings, but the dogs smell it. I mean, dogs sense pregnancy, dogs sense illness. There are even cancer dogs. I'm sure you guys knew and saw on the news the COVID dogs. that were being trained to sense COVID in major places like train stations and airports, because it's bacteria and viruses give off a certain smell, and it's the smell of death and the viruses and what's happening with the decomposition in a body that we can't smell yet because it's not amplified enough, but the dogs do.
Right.
So you have to understand that they pick it up instantaneously. No cleaning that anyone can do, and even I'm talking about even crime scene cleaners, would take away the smell of what a cadaver dog will walk into that house and instantly hit. So
Right.
this, I keep seeing comments on other channels and pages and stuff, people saying, "Oh, it's 10 minutes, it's half an hour, it's an hour." No, honestly, guys, it's an instantaneous thing. The bacteria and the gases that a body of somebody who's passed instantaneously gives off are so subtle that a human won't smell them. They won't, but a dog will. A dog will smell that from miles away. So,
Yes.
I mean, you have to understand this. And there's a difference between a cadaver dog and a trauma dog. People are saying about the trauma dogs. Yes, 100%. Trauma dogs is not a thing as such. People have sort of made that out. It's not a thing. But there are dogs that are sensed. They're trained to sense aggression, upset, violence. The actual term trauma dog is not a thing. But dogs are trained to sense if there has been a level of upset, because what they're actually smelling in the air is the pheromones and the various bacteria and chemicals that your skin has set off when you are in a heightened state of emotion. They're not smelling like as such, the fact someone was shouting here 2 hours ago. They're smelling the fact that there was a bacterial change in the air when a person was sweating heavier, when a person was giving off a different smell because their body was in a state of fight or flight. So you have to understand those tiny wee changes to a dog are huge. They're literally in their face, but to humans, they're negligible. We don't see them at all. So it's completely different. Saying you have to remember, the dog. What is it they say? A dog's nose is like 1,000 times more sensitive than a human's. My dog knew when I was pregnant, before I was pregnant, but before I knew I was pregnant, my dog knew 100%. I'd challenge anyone on it. My dog knew, became instantly protective. That I'd already had him at that point for 4 years, and I was his master, and he was instantly protective of me. Knew straight away, and I didn't even know. And I
Yeah.
and I can tell you, I was less than 10 days pregnant at the time, and it was the changes in him made me go, "What are you being like that for?" And literally found out a week later. So, and I thought, oh, he knew, and he did. He did know 100%. So dogs definitely sense hormonal changes, and then trained dogs obviously sense way more than that. But this is what we're talking about when we're saying, when you take into consideration no motion on that floor, no steps no steps for him, but no flights of stairs. So motion, but no flights. And then you put into that equation that she did 3 flights in 3 minutes, guys. Something
Right.
made
The big
her
the big
hustle.
question is who put the kids in the tanks. He did not, definitely not climb up those stairs,
No, and I know you guys
let
all would.
alone like 4 times back and forth,
No,
back
there's
and forth.
just no way, guys. I mean, I would love to be able to put my hands on my heart and say, like, this SOB did everything, and that's it, simple as.
No.
But every single time something more like this comes to light and is really, broken down in layman's terms, and it's there in front of your eyes. Digital evidence doesn't lie. He didn't do 92 steps
No.
between, what time did he arrive? Excuse me, sort of 7 a.m. ish. He didn't do 92 steps. Look at 7 a.m. Look at it. It's about 3/4 of the way over in that neon box if you're watching on a phone. So halfway over the neon box is 6 o'clock. So in between halfway and 3/4 is where we should have been seeing a massive red pole.
Yeah.
Massive. In
I
fact,
mean,
probably way higher than the
he
other
had
ones.
11 flights climbed, but that was all when he got home,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So I think he went upstairs the first time he got in. He went upstairs, put her ring on the nightstand, you know, and put her watch and her phone in between the cushions, ran down. So, yeah, because this is where he climbs the friggin' flights
Yeah.
when he
I
gets
mean,
home.
it just if you hadn't watched the body worn cameras, and you were looking at this and you were writing a paragraph to describe this person's activity, I mean, you can from 2 o'clock onwards, you can pretty much describe exactly what we see him doing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's nailed it. So you cannot say this is inaccurate because the comparison from 2 o'clock on is perfect. It's what we see on the camera.
right.
So your reference point right there. So if this was an experiment, you know what I mean? You've got your reference point right there, and you can't say this is off. You know, this isn't one of those apps that you can, or situations where you can say an app is off, because you've got your reference point on camera, that he gets home and starts going up and down the stairs, up and down to the basement, up and down with the cops, see him come back down again when Baumhofer gets there. It's in the
Yeah.
kitchen, he's back up again with NA after,
And
and
keep in mind
Baumhofer's there.
there was no movement from, we now know, 151 till
Right.
423 when he opened the basement door first. And I always thought that he was sleeping in the basement and that he went upstairs at 423.
Yeah, it does definitely look like um whatever happened was in the basement and it didn't concern the children in the basement. I mean, yes, we could always say the children were down in the basement and they were already deceased or incapacitated in a way that they couldn't make noise, but that just doesn't fit with anything else to me. And I know you guys that are all about the shadows would say, "Oh, but the shadows." Um, I
There's
just
no
it doesn't.
shadows,
No,
in
it
my
just
opinion.
doesn't fit to me. I think Tanya demonstrated really clearly that that whole shadow thing is very easily explained when you take into consideration the open door on the driver's side. And I have counted that split second where it's less than 2 seconds when he gets from the door, the driver door, in front of the headlight that gets covered by his body. And
Yeah,
there's just no way I could do that carrying a child. And okay, he's a man, I'm a woman, or whatever. And yeah, I'm talking about just human speed. You
yeah,
just, you have to walk, lift her up, walk around the open door, and walk in front of the light. You just can't do it. You know, like those, the bonnet of those F-250s are pretty long. You
yeah.
know, they're not a wee short stubby bonnet that you can be round the front in 2 seconds. They're pretty
And
long.
keep in mind, Nate's camera is pretty shitty. So it
Yes.
not only has a 10-second delay, it also runs on, like, I think it's 0.25 speed or something. So everything you see, he actually does within seconds. It goes quick,
Yes,
quick, 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 quick. So
exactly.
everything you
Ex-
see him slowing down and walking around, it's not real time. And people keep forgetting that.
and I'm still very much a believer that everything going on at the front was done as a
Yeah.
distraction.
And
I
also,
mean,
if the light came from behind from the garage and Bella or whoever was walking out, the shadow is in front of her, but
right,
it would have been to the side.
it would have been to her right hand side,
Exactly.
and it wasn't.
So
It was directly in front, which would have you imagining that the light was coming from behind her, but it wasn't.
exactly.
It makes no
So
sense in physics.
yeah. So
So,
yeah, I mean, definitely, yeah, it could have been that somebody else was in the basement. There are people trying to debunk NK's pings, but that's not possible. And also aren't her searches. like when some people say, oh, that phone had somebody else had that phone, some Anadarko worker had that phone before her, and they searched for Shanann and Chris. No, they weren't, because all the evidence taken was from her SIM card and not from her phone, from
Right.
so it's impossible. A phone doesn't save searches, a SIM card does.
Exactly.
So it makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand why people put that misinformation out there.
Well, there's a lot
You
of
know,
misinformation out there. The king of misinformation is going to be in the autopsy video because there's so much. It's just crazy, regarding misinformation out there with the autopsy and the evidence that was gathered at the autopsies and how it was processed or not processed. And there's so much, and I'm getting quite bored now of people peddling this nonsense just for clicks and views. It's just a bit boring. Um, I just saw there, Ervin is saying, I'm not a big believer in the shadows, but what is the thing that Chris picked up and brought inside the truck? Well, Irvin, if you see, if you watch back Tanya's video about debunking the shadows, um, I personally think it was mentioned, and it's quite clear in the video as well, that his jeans are tucked into his boot. I personally think there's about a million things he could have dropped on the ground out of his hand or out of his pocket that he just bent down to pick up, or he bent over to tuck his jean in, or he bent over to tuck his jean out. I mean, I can think of a million reasons why I bend over and touch my foot for different reasons. You know, you just don't know what it was. He literally could have dropped anything on the ground, whether it be a pen or a dollar or whatever. He doesn't necessarily have been picking anything up, and I don't believe he put anything in the truck. The door was open, and if you watch when Tanya shows it, and it's not in any kind of edited or blown up or
no, I used an
doctored
unedited
video.
video.
Yeah, when you watch the unedited videos, which is what a lot of creators aren't doing, they're showing these blown up x-ray vision, enhanced blah blah blah, which also, by the way, is completely inadmissible in a court in America. You can't alter a videotape in any way. It automatically makes it inadmissible. So you have to show it in the form that it's recorded. And if you can't see what you need to see in that form, then it's not admissible in the court. So, and I personally think that's one of the reasons why, as well, that there was no rush and no hurry for anybody to get anything off uh, Mr. Nate. As we know that they didn't even try chasing it up until October. That's in the discovery. So if that was their slam dunk piece of evidence, as I heard someone say today in a different YouTube chat, that it was slam dunk in the video. No, it definitely wasn't. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Even Agent Coder himself says in Wisconsin can't see anything in the video.
Right.
And conveniently, Tammy Lee leaves that little nugget out of her summary in inverted commas. Um, yeah, it's just not. The video is just nonsense. Not to mention the fact, I mean, I know this, you guys are divided, and she's a divisive person. But I have to say, Alana makes sense about a lot of stuff to me. And this, one of the things she said was about, you've got Chris triggering the camera to record all this activity by just walking back and forwards on the driveway. But you're saying to yourself, well, hold on. NA is saying that her and her son were parked on the driveway. They reversed back up. They got out and jumped up on the hood of the car, or the bonnet as we call it in the UK, and they were rattling, garage doors, and all this activity was going on. But Nate doesn't have any of that. None of it. So literally none of it. Why would none of that be shown? Why wouldn't he have said on camera, "Oh well, here's NA arriving and um tampering with the alarm to try and get it to sound"? Or, I mean, it just doesn't exist. I mean, to me, it's just crazy, and that could be that Nate's camera is just rubbish, or it could be that Nate was actually watching live footage that is why his camera recorded as much as it did of Chris Watts that morning. Because if I'm watching my motion activated camera in a live format, it will record everything for the duration that I am watching, rather than just motions. Um, so it will record as a continuous stream until I click end live, which anybody who has a Ring door cam would say that that works the same too. So there's lots of things that you have to ask about, that what was going on. But I personally believe, we all know Chris Watts knew that that camera was there. People can argue about whether he thought it was moved. People can argue about whether it was tilted. They can argue till the cows come home, as we say here. But the one thing you can't argue about is that he knew there was a camera there, and we all know how much he loved NK. And I'm sorry, I just don't believe for 1 second he let her in a million years walk out in front of a camera.
Nah, no
It
way.
just wouldn't happen. And put on top of that, and I was saying this to somebody in the group, in the Red X crimes group recently, and I was getting agitated because I was trying to explain, if you're on the driver's side of that vehicle, which has nose pointed down the driveway, you are literally open to vehicles coming from the east of Saratoga Trail, the west of Saratoga Trail, and straight ahead of you on Steeple Rock. You are right in their eye line. Not to mention the fact that the house straight across the road, slightly to the left, if you're standing looking out their front door, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. So those people, you don't know if they're standing in their window looking out. You don't know if they're, got up to go to the bathroom at 5 a.m. and happened to look out the window. And you're telling me that he's going to take the chance of dragging a bright white/grey sheet down the driveway? Come on. That's the equivalent to me going out of my house right now, and I live in a residential area, and just starting to drag a body down the street, and there could be 10 people looking out their windows at me that I don't know that they're watching me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just crazy, man.
Irvin
I just,
says, even if there wasn't a camera, I would not let my mistress walk out the front door. My neighbors will notice. Exactly.
Irvin, giving yourself away on here. You gotta
Yeah.
keep that on the down low, Irvin. No, I know what you mean, Irvin. I wouldn't either. I mean, and he went to all these other, steps over those 5 weeks, supposedly coming in and out the side gate, and we know he was trying not to alert Shanann. Um, and I just think there's so many, things about it that just make me go,
Yeah, and
really, really.
Ridgeback saying NK did not have a work phone. That's also true. She only had her personal phone. So
Right.
yeah,
There,
I believe whoever was there was probably there waiting with him in the basement, because like we explained in our previous lives, when you watch Nate's footage during the 111-minute phone call, he leaves the house. His router locks his phone back into the house, and I don't think the kids were of any plan of this murder. I
no,
think
I
I
don't.
believe that they were taken out during that phone call, and yeah, I don't believe for a second that they were planned. I also believe that they probably went into those tanks maybe during Tuesday, not on Monday, because something went wrong. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, I
like I
mean,
said in the last live, I don't believe that Bella's injuries come from the hand of a man, because she wouldn't have been able to wiggle around. I think a woman did that to her,
yeah,
and this is just, most likely a woman. But that's only my opinion. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical examiner. But yeah, we gonna go through this in the next live anyway on Friday, when we talk about the autopsies in detail.
yeah. There's a lot of
And there
stuff
is
to
so
talk about.
much that comes to light in that live. I can tell you this right now. Even though it might be a topic nobody wants to talk about, but I just hope you guys can keep your emotions out of this and just see it, neutral as a case for this part. So yeah, I really hope
Yeah.
you can do that because there's some stuff, really graphic stuff. And if you don't want to join in, that's fine also. But yeah, just be prepared that some stuff will come to light that nobody
Yeah.
I heard talking about on YouTube. So
Ridgeback there saying, I feel the kids were drugged but woke up too soon. Kids metabolize drugs like anesthetic way faster than grown-ups and they wake up a second after surgery. You're so right. Oh my goodness, my own experience. I have a really, really horrendous I don't know what way you would explain it, whether it's an allergy or just a sensitivity to anesthesia. And I tell them every time they say, "Oh, we've got you, don't worry." And every time my blood pressure bottoms out, and they're really worried and they panic, and it's just this whole horrible drama.
yeah,
And I was so worried about it for my daughter, and she was having her first ever anesthesia when she was 6, and I was so worried it was going to be a hereditary thing, and I could not believe how fast she came out of proper heavy anesthesia. It was crazy. She was one second out, next second awake. So I was so blown away with that. But what you were saying, Ridgeback, about feeling that they were drugged, um,
yeah,
definitely
chloroform
something
or
we're going.
ethanol.
Yeah, it's something we're going to talk about because I've heard people arguing back and forwards, and I'm not going to name any creators, but there's one creator who has consistently said um, that one of the children had a collapsed lung, and a lot of people got very cross about it and said, no, 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 it doesn't say collapsed lung, it doesn't say collapsed lung. Guys, I can categorically tell you now, and we will get into it on Friday, Cece absolutely had either a partially collapsed lung or a fully collapsed lung, but her respiratory system and her lungs were described as markedly collapsed. But the word that they use is the anatomical word for a collapsed lung, and it can mean partial and it can mean full collapse. It's different from it and pneumothorax. It's not the same thing. They are two completely different things, which I will also show you. Um, but what I will say is the content on Friday is upsetting. I wanted to demonstrate as much as possible without being too graphic, but when anyone shows the likes of petechiae, so, the conjunctival hemorrhages, even I know Tanya showed you guys opacification of the eyes on the live that I wasn't on the other day, and even that can be upsetting for people to see. So we just want to give you plenty of warning that we are going to use images like that. Obviously, we're not going to use images of children. Um, and anyone whose images we are using have given their permission, as in their images online, that people have either donated their bodies to science or they've been used in publicized medical books and textbooks. So what I'm saying is come into it with your mind open, but you have to understand, we're not saying any of this stuff to be controversial in any way. We're not saying this to get clicks or likes. Couldn't care less about that kind of thing. We just want to talk about stuff that not everybody's talking about, but we want to do it in a respectful way. But at the same time, guys, we've got to just be honest about it and
Yes.
not sugarcoat it for you. And if it's if it's going to go against the grain of your belief of what happened, then we apologize, but we can't go into this like already having a predetermined, right, this is what we think, and we're not um, going to deviate from that in any way, and we're going to make our videos always fit around that. That's not the case at all. And at the end of the day, digital evidence, you can manipulate it if you're gonna if you're gonna go down that road. Um, but if you really take it at face value, it can it doesn't lie, and the same can be said for autopsies. And yes, certain results can be skewed by certain factors, and we'll talk about that as well, and we'll talk about that in regards to Shanann especially. But I'll give you examples and I will show you how what we are being sold, just like if anybody watched our media piece that we did 2 videos ago about how the media manipulated this on behalf and with help from law enforcement,
Yes.
feeding them the
Yeah.
narrative. And let's be honest, whether you want to give, I don't say give Chris the sort of ball on it, he didn't have anything to do with them feeding the false narrative. It only made things worse for him, and it's not by us drawing attention to it and shedding light on it. We're not saying, oh, God love him, he got really dealt a bad hand there. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that if this happened to you, if this happened to you, and or this happened to your family, you are going to want the truth to be put out there, no matter
Yes.
how awful it is. You want the truth. You don't want this manufactured nonsense. And that's what a lot of the media is feeding, and we actually see it again, um, in regards to some of the stuff with the autopsies. Um, so what was it? The worst case scenario was kind of peddled to the media, um, and we see that with the evidence collection. And I mean, do you guys honestly believe? Tell me in the comments one other case where you can tell me that you have seen, and I mean, I'm not going back, like, I'm not talking about cases that are now 40 and 50 years old, because obviously that stuff's all came out. But I'm talking about a recent case of in the last 10 years where you have seen a bloodied sheet that the person was buried in be released, the footage of that being processed into evidence. Show me where you've ever seen that, because I can tell you now that was released to the media on purpose.
Yeah.
That's released. That kind of gore is released on purpose, and that sheet is not the bloodied sheet that Christopher Watts wrapped Shanann Watts in. Okay, so we'll put that to bed on Friday. I know our people who are here in chat that have been with us before will know about that already. And I mean, there's a handful of people. I'm still shocked at how many people I bump into in chats that say that was the sheet. No, guys, we will show you fundamentally for the final time that
Yeah.
it's not the sheet. Okay, they're not even the same color. Okay, one's blue/grey. I always see grey as blue, but one's blue/grey and the other one's white. Okay, the coroner does not use blue-grey sheets in the liners, they're white, and that's what's in the evidence locker. So, not to mention the fact that there's pictures of the actual bed sheet that was found floating around survey, which in my mind was planted there anyway. Because it's so ridiculous. Like Tanya said, why would you not? Why would you not in a million years have just thrown that in with her? It's
Exactly. Why
just so
remove the bin bag?
ridiculous.
Makes absolutely no sense.
Right, it's so ridiculous. And
Oh,
if
and
even were,
Canadian Mama says, are some of the autopsies sealed for a fact, or is that hearsay? I know the girls' medical records were sealed. I just want to say so much about this. I don't know if any of the autopsies are sealed, but some people say that Chris Watts or the DA or the law enforcement or CBI or the judge or anyone involved wanted to seal the autopsy. That's
mm-hmm,
not true. The only person who decides what is getting sealed and what is getting released is the medical examiner or
right,
coroner. Nobody
right,
else has the authority to tell people, I'm gonna seal this or I'm gonna make this public, or and what's also doesn't have the authority to do so.
no,
So no, only the coroner or the performing medical examiner can say, listen, to provide a fair trial, I am gonna seal this, I'm not gonna make this public. But it's only in the hands of the medical examiner to decide
right.
that, nobody
And
else.
Tanya's 100% right, and we'll talk about on Friday. Sorry, that beeping was my laptop. I had a panic there; it was going to disconnect. We'll talk about on Friday who Mr. Burson is, okay? Because there's a lot of conjecture out there. Is he a coroner? Is he a medical examiner? What's the difference? And I'm going to tell you now, Tanya hasn't even seen the photos that I have for her. They will give you a giggle, okay? Everybody has seen, this is obviously really horrific content on Friday, but I can promise you at least one laugh. If everybody thinks of high school, their high school what do you call those things they do in America? The yearbook. We don't have them here, but the yearbook, and you always see these really
We do
goofy
and I hate
pictures.
it.
Do you? Well,
My pictures on that. Oh my god.
well, we have individual pictures, but not like a book. Thank God for the shame. But the ones I've seen, you get some like real geeky pictures of people in their yearbooks, and you're thinking, what were they wearing when they had that picture taken? Well, folks, just you come on Friday and get nestled in, have a glass of wine, and what do you see? The photographs of the coroners that preside over Colorado's various counties. Oh my goodness, it is like the lineup from the YMCA. It is. It's like what do you call it? The village people, like mixed in with I don't know, like
Yes, brokies.
your grandma. And like honestly, you've got to see these folks. Like it was as if they forgot. You know, the one kid who forgets that the photographer's coming to school that day to take their school picture. They've got like jam on their face from breakfast and no one tells them, and a stain on their tie. That is what is happening in these photographs. You have no idea. From baseball caps, guys. You're the coroner of a county in America, right? I don't care if you've got 100 people or 100,000 people in your county. You do not get your picture taken wearing a baseball cap. It is insane. So we'll give you a wee laugh at those because the reason I want to show you those is I want to show you when I'm explaining, how these people are in that role, how it varies state by state, and how it actually varies county by county in Colorado. And we'll talk a wee bit about Mr. Burson himself and what he's up to today because he's in a slightly
Yeah,
different role.
Brooks
Um,
saying he's elected. Yeah, he is.
yeah, so coroners, yeah, we'll get into it on Friday, but coroners are elected,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be anything other than a resident of that particular state for at least 1 year, above the age of 18, and not have any felonies. That's it. High school education. That's it. So it's
Canadian
pretty
mama.
scary.
Canadian mama says, I know the girls' medical records were sealed. Yeah, then I wonder why. I
Yeah,
mean,
this is
let's be
something Tanya and I
honest.
talk about a lot.
I think it just would have came out that Shanann probably was doctor shopping or that some of the illnesses weren't there or whatever, not to take any sides, but you gotta look also on that aspect of the case as well.
Yeah. Guys, saying that isn't, it's like that's not this big horrible knock on Shanann. There's a lot of helicopter parents out there who will not accept a diagnosis, and especially from what I understand about, the medical field in America, because you guys obviously pay for everything. I mean, obviously we do in our taxes, but the National Health Service is very different. We don't get a choice here of who we go to see. We just get referred by our general practice, and then we end up with someone. There's no such thing as doctor shopping unless you're paying privately. So it's a real big thing in America. If you don't get a diagnosis, you get a second opinion or a third opinion until a lot of the time people will. The whole big pharma thing, a lot of doctors
It
are
all depends
throwing.
how much you pay. Then you
Yeah,
get the diagnosis you want.
100%.
The
That
same
is the
thing
case
here.
here too for a lot of things. And guys, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's a lot of the case with the allergies, and I talked about it in a post I made recently. I have dealt with a lot of parents in the last couple of years in a role that I'm involved in now in a non-profit. And I deal with a lot of children who have allergies, and I am the the pediatric first aid on staff there, and a lot of them, and I'm talking about out of just over 1,000 children, in my care at any one time. In a weekly basis, like a rotational of a week, there would be anything from 60 to 100 who carry EpiPens or allergy medicine. So, I mean, when you put that into perspective, it kind of scary that all of a sudden it went from 3 years ago being maybe 5 kids to being 60. So the feedback I get from the kids and the parents, a lot of this medication is just pushed on them as a kind of worst case scenario. I know that is different in the States because the likes of EpiPens and that are so expensive. I mean, they're really not here in comparison. The same as inhalers and things are incredibly expensive in the States, and they're not here at all. Um, but just to, make you aware, like a lot of doctors do push a lot of that medication on parents because you guys over there pay so heavily through the nose for it. And those doctors are compensated greatly by the companies, the pharmaceutical companies that make them. So I'm not saying that Shanann was under the impression that her children had all these problems and they didn't, and Shanann was aware of it. It could also be a case of they'd been diagnosed with things that they just didn't have because
Yeah.
the doctors are pushing medication onto the parents because it's money. So, and it's repeat visits, and it's this consistent circle of, oh, you better purchase this medication just in case, and you better take this just in case. So look, it's not always a negative thing when we're saying, look, there might have been a bit of an element here of the kids not being as unwell as what Chris and Shanann might have thought or told to other people. Okay, that is not as black and white as they're lying or they're not. Okay, it's not as black and white as that. But there
Yeah,
is
but to say something about that, I mean, it
yeah,
was obviously a lot
yes,
going to the doctors and to different doctors. And
yeah,
so for her not knowing or getting medications for her children when they're not ill, I mean, the doctors didn't come to her. She went to the doctors. So there's that, you
yeah,
know. So,
that's true. That's true. That's very much true.
you
Yeah.
know,
No, definitely. But it always just, interests me so much from perspective of her being so into Thrive and how Thrive, and I'm saying this in inverted commas, cured her illness and her lupus. Um, but you know, I just find that such a dangerous ground to start going down with people making claims like that, and then when I look at the people who are thrivers now, I'm kind of like, they always all seem quite unfit and not really these sort of beacons of health, if you want to put it that way. Um, and I don't know, it just always seemed like a real grey area for me. I'm not picking on Thrive as the one and only. There's loads of other I hate this word, pyramid scheme products out there, that people really get into, and you know I don't know. To me, it's just always a bit of a snake oil situation. Sorry.
yeah, but
Sorry, thrivers.
to tell somebody, oh, it cures cancer, or I have no lupus since I take that, that's borderline, in my opinion,
Yeah, it's
because
dangerous. To
you're
me, it's
selling,
dangerous.
it could be dangerous to people
Yeah,
who suffer from those illnesses. So,
yeah,
I would be very, very careful with what I say or what I sell. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, no,
now,
definitely. But as we know, there was a lot of things that didn't add up. Like a lot of her friends, like Lauren and that, were under the impression that Shanann was really into this like running and fitness and working out because that was what the Thrive life that was online showed. But Chris was very straight about that didn't happen. What? What are you talking about? She never went for a run. She like when the cops asked, does she go for walks around the neighborhood? He was like, no. What? Never. Like, no, she wouldn't even know where to walk around here. Like he went running, and she was actually quite annoyed about that. For whatever reasons known to her, she wasn't happy about him going running. So if you're into sports yourself and you're this really sporty, getting up at 4 a.m., busting the pavement type person, you're going to be loving the fact your other half's doing that too. So I do have to believe. I know he's FOS, but about a lot of things he says, but I have to believe him on this one. I just don't buy the whole fitness freak thing. It doesn't. No, I'm just not buying it. Sorry.
no.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's so
Yeah,
much I don't buy.
yeah. Brooke just said thrivers ate a lot of McDonald's. Yeah, Brooke, like McDonald's came up a lot in the discovery and like in people's
A
interviews,
lot I
and
don't
I was
buy.
like, what? We wouldn't even touch that stuff with a barge pole. Like if you were into any kind of healthy lifestyle, like you're not going near McDonald's like ever. So never mind drive through. You drive by, like it's not happening. There's just no
Yeah.
way. So
I eat
yeah,
a
no,
lot of McDonald's, but I'm not a thriver.
I eat McDonald's and then it kills me. I regret it instantly
I'm
about five
guilty of
seconds later.
eating junk food, and yeah,
Yeah, McDonald's wouldn't really float my boat, to be honest.
no.
But I'm gonna be honest with you. It's Friday. It's gonna be a tough one in regards to images and stuff. But I know you guys are all grown ups, and you're gonna come and just really understand that we're showing you stuff because we're not being, shocking. We're not there for the shock factor. If that was the case, would have a big gaudy intro like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Tanya would have a big flashy intro and would be showing you all
Yeah,
gaudy pictures.
we definitely need an intro.
Yeah, we need an intro, but we're not having a big, 5 minute countdown on the screen. Um,
No.
I always laugh at those ones. They make me laugh. Like
Within
it's
those
something.
5 minutes, I probably fall asleep.
Well, this is you, Tanya.
I'm good at
Guys,
falling asleep.
for the new people in chat that have said they're new and it's their first time here, Miss Tanya went to nodded off to La La Land on my last live, and I had people messaging me going, "Is Tanya okay? Is
It
Tanya
wasn't
okay?"
you, it was Lauren and Sentner. They bored
And
the crap out of me.
yeah, it's. I'm sorry, Tanya. I'm not going to let you live it down for a wee while because it's just too funny. Like, no joke. Canadian Mama knows we were at the point of, and we're not being facetious when we say this, and we're not taking the Mickey. We were legitimately going, "What's her husband's name?" Right, I'm going to look him up on Facebook, see if I can find him
Steve
because
James.
I know, and he has the most. He has like John Doe name. There's like 100 Steve Jameses.
Just go on
I
my
was like,
profile, it should
I
come
was
up.
like, he literally has the the most like John Doe name that when you're trying to find somebody on Facebook, and I was really panicking. I had my whole house woke up. I sound like Sandy Ruseck, but I really did. I was going,
Yeah.
she just went quiet, and then I'm like trying to wake her up, and she's not having any of it.
Yeah,
I
but
was
keep in mind I was up for over 48 hours that
Oh my
day.
god, I know. But I honestly never was so glad when I got the ping from you that you were alive because I knew because people are like, oh god, you're being very dramatic, but I knew that Tanya wasn't well that day and she'd
Yeah,
been really ill and she'd been to the doctors, and I was like, I had these visions of her lying on the floor, collapsed on her laptop, and her
on
husband
my
none the
couch.
wiser. It was awful. So I was so happy to get a little text saying I just went for a wee snooze.
Oh no. Nobody would have found me because they don't dare to come out of their rooms
Oh god.
if I'm on a live.
And Canadian mama saying my phone blew up. Yeah, Canadian mama, and it was like, Danny, go back on and just start shouting, just try and wake her up. And I was like, no, because if anyone else has fallen asleep with their earbuds in, I'm gonna give them a heart attack. If I suddenly start shouting down a live that went quiet 20 minutes ago.
I'm so sorry, guys. Honestly, so
No,
sorry.
it was ridiculously funny now, but not at the time. But yeah,
I was
Lauren.
rewatching that live and I was like, oh my God, I hope I didn't say anything or fart or something like that.
Yeah, I was just hoping. Yeah, I was
Oh
hoping
my
that you weren't going to
God.
wake up and be like, "What? Huh? What's happening?" Because that would be me when I wake up. I don't know what place. I hardly know where I am. Never mind anything else. But it was,
Okay,
yeah,
Brooke's gotta go. All right, Brooke, have a good day and hopefully see you Friday.
yeah. Brooke, see, come on Friday. It'll be. I
Yeah,
don't want to say it'll
definitely.
be fun, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So
Canadian mama is like, and there were still people in chat. Yeah, when I woke up, I saw like 37 people in chat. And I'm like, Danielle, where's Danielle? What time is it? Oh my God.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean, it wasn't even like it was just like 11 p.m. your time. It was like 6 a.m.
yeah,
So
yeah,
to be fair to Tanya, it was like literally the next morning, but she'd only been asleep for like 30 minutes. But it was 30 minutes was too
yeah.
long for me. I was stressing out.
But I'll do everything for you guys. So keep
Yeah.
up and stay awake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stay sick
so
as a dog and still plowing on.
yeah. So, to come back to this, Chris as well as Shanann's phone were searched for their movements, and Case was not. Her report ends with her searches, we all know about, and you wonder why. Because if we would have her movements, we would see, where she was, if she climbed any flights,
Right.
she was running up and down the stairs, if she had many steps, what time she woke up, and all that. We would have all that. But I think this is on purpose that they didn't put that out there publicly.
Of course it is on purpose. Of
Because
course it
in
is.
my opinion, I always can only say it's in my opinion, but I think she was on some sort of a deal, like I explained to you guys in the last live show, that the DA only wants the main person. And if the other person is saying, all right, I tell you everything and I know this and that, but, I want immunity, then they probably would go for it. So that's my opinion. And I think, to sum it all up, I think the kids were taken out during that phone call. I think there might have been probably people in the basement waiting because, you got to keep in mind her flight being delayed distracted them, kind of made them to think again about their plan. But I
Right.
definitely think that the kids were not part of the plan and something went wrong. And I honestly want to know, because we now have proof. That's a fact. That's data. You cannot manipulate it. He carried both his phones on him. So who the
Right.
hell went up and down the stairs? Who the hell put those kids in those tanks? It's it's just questions over questions.
Right. It just makes no sense now at all. I mean,
Absolutely no
it was
sense.
always questionable to us that the journey was never made from Saratoga to Surrey with the children or Shanann, in my opinion.
No.
There was somewhere else in between, and some time in between, I believe. I fully believe. And there's reason I believe that too in the autopsy, and we'll get into that. I just think the timeline's just not right, as far as Shanann especially goes. And
Yeah.
I do believe, um, I mean, I have my issues with how the kids got in the tanks. You know that, and that's something we'll go into at a later date. But I just, when I say it's not relevant, it is relevant, but it's not a game changer in regards to when they got there. Um, but I definitely have issue with how the children got in, and yeah, like Sarah Jane saying there, Chris didn't know what the children were wearing. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I mean, that's literally the tip of the iceberg. Like when you start, I have thinking boards, and I have these
Yeah.
whiteboards that I just write stuff down on, like, and send
Same
pictures
with
to
the
Tanya.
bloodshed eyes.
Yeah, there's
Like
loads of stuff.
I explained in the last live.
When you write down all the inconsistencies, it's actually mind blowing. Like when you write down the stuff that he gets wrong, that he should have got right if he was the perpetrator, and I can say perpetrator or sole perpetrator. If you write this stuff down, it just blows your mind. Like, we're not talking about one or two little inconsistencies here. We're talking about like fundamental
The whole
facts that
thing.
he just gets wrong. And like, you'll be sick to death of hearing me saying this. I write it on comments all the time. Guessing isn't confessing, folks. There's not once I heard another creator say it in the last week. Once, and she's right, once you put out in a confession any part of it that is not true, that automatically makes that entire confession a false confession. Okay? You can't have one bit that's true, one bit that's not. And there's so many people out there that are happy to just cherry pick. Well, he said this, but then he said that, but oh, that doesn't really fit my narrative. So I'm going to forget that he said that and just say he was lying about that bit, but he's not lying about this bit. Oh, stop it. Stop it, guys. Stop it now. He is telling you a little bits of truth mixed in to the rest of it, which is just guessing. Even Lauren, okay, Lauren, we're referencing Lauren Arnold when we say Lauren, who was Shanann's childhood friend who saw Chris at the house on the Monday night, all right, and lived in Colorado. For anybody that doesn't know who she is, yeah, Canadian, a taco buffet. That's exactly what I described as somebody the other day. That these facts are not a little buffet that you come along and take a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and I make myself a little truth sandwich. That's not what happens, guys. If something, he is giving you little, in my opinion, little bits of information with a load of crap surrounding it, all right? And everybody's getting so caught up in the crap around it.
It just
The
repeats what everybody
packaging,
tells him.
yeah, like
All he does.
you proved it with your explanation of Sarah, the girl who wrote the dream. Isn't it Sarah? I always say her name wrong. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, she wrote the dream, and it's just laughable when you put them side by side what he said. But
Yeah.
getting back to it, like he gives you little things, like for example, standing on the porch interview, and he's not prompted in any way, shape, or form. He's not asked the question, and he goes, "There's no cameras out the back."
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Now, if you watch that back and just wait for him saying that and really focus on it, he's not prompted in any way. He literally just spews that information out, and you can see him biting his lip immediately as if, oh, shh, I didn't mean to say that. Like, it
Yeah.
just slips out. He's he's spewing out little bits of information. And if anybody's watched the False Confessions series, it's on Netflix. I mean, it's been on there for a long time now, but 2 years maybe. And it's so interesting. And even I went back and watched a couple of them. I watch these confession videos and I'm like, oh my God, he did it. Oh my goodness. And like, you're like, I really believe it. And I actually forget for a minute that I'm watching a false confessions program, and I'm like taken in that this person is admitting to say, one of them was a rape and a murder of this girl. And I'm going, oh my God, he did it. I can't believe it. And then literally turns out that everything that the guy just said was all lies. And he just gave in and told them what they wanted to hear, because he'd been in under like heavy interrogation for like 5-6 hours, and he just couldn't take it anymore. And most of them say that they just always hold it in their head that law enforcement are going to figure out that they're lying. So like it's okay, like everything will work itself out.
Yeah.
That they just say it to get a breather, to have a breather, to
False
get off.
confessions are very much in common because
Oh my goodness,
it's
crazy.
not something that just happens,
No,
but
it's not.
you
But it
know,
is a phenomenon. It really is a phenomenon, because it happens so much more than people think. And the Innocence Foundation, I'll tell you that, and the Innocent Project, they deal with false confessions. So many, they just can't even deal with them all. It's just crazy. And people ask, like I was for years one of these people that said, "Oh, what do you mean? Like, what, you wouldn't be crazy enough?" Listen, see if law enforcement break you down for long enough, and you're freaked out enough, and you're not a person who's used to dealing with them, it's completely overwhelming. Like, I
yeah,
don't know if anybody's been in a situation where you're being interviewed and you're not the victim. It's very intense. And I do understand, like, I've obviously never been interviewed for murder, touch wood, but I can imagine that would be like the most intense. And even Lauren Arnold, that's like went around the fields there, to get back to my point, but Lauren Arnold herself, who has no reason to be nice about Chris Watts whatsoever, he's allegedly killed her best friend.
and that
Even Lauren said,
yeah,
"Look, I wonder, was he in front of the camera saying that he, covering up that he did something, or just covering up that he knew something?" And that really resonated with me from all of Lauren's hour and 45 minutes of boring interview. It really resonated with me, because I was like, yes, Lauren, you're hitting the nail on the head there. Is it the fact that he knew something and he was just, that's all? He just knew something and he was hiding it? Or is it that he did something and he was hiding it? And I have to come back to people who say, who saw him on the Tuesday especially, that he just looked shocked, and he looked real like shell shocked. And what he was saying to people, like the Monday and the Tuesday morning and stuff, when he was talking to people, and even later on the Tuesday, he was talking to colleagues, and they were saying, look, this is bizarre. Like, how are you? Like, how is everything? And for the first day, he was sort of okay, like coping okay. And then when he talked to people on, I think it was the Tuesday night and the Wednesday morning, he was like, it's just like something out of a movie. Like, it's just crazy. Like, and the way he says it, it's as he truly seemed shell shocked. Like he had no control over what was happening. So I think there's a lot of questions over at what level was his involvement. Like, nobody take me wrong, especially the new folks that are here tonight. No one take me wrong that I am advocating for this man to be, walking out of prison anytime soon. I'm not. I'm just saying the
No, but
level.
justice also means that, keeping an open mind and having a fair trial.
Yeah,
That also means justice. And if somebody is innocent of some parts, why, why getting sentenced, or why not getting that charge reducted from his overall sentence.
right.
So
Yeah.
justice is not only to have justice for the victims, it has, to be justice for everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
and nobody wants. The thing is, people can turn around and say, "Oh, what does it?" I see people every day saying, "What does it matter? He's where he belongs." Well, what it matters is that not only do we want to make sure that everybody who's potentially culpable is held accountable for their actions. That's really important. Not only from just a moral point of
You
view,
also
right?
gotta you also gotta keep in mind those people who have potentially something to do with this are walking free,
Yeah, well, that's what I
and
was
they
just
can
about to
do that to
say.
your family or any
They
other
can.
family.
Exact.
So I think it's quite common also that not only false confessions, but people who, and I see that with cases when it comes to gangs, they rather go to jail before they you know hit on somebody else. They rather be quiet and take all that jail time, and if it's the death penalty, they take it
Right.
because they don't want to snitch on somebody of their gang. And
Right.
we're normal thinking people, I would say. So you would probably say, oh, I would never do that. I would never
Right.
cover up for anybody else. But you don't know until you're not in that situation, you know
Listen, guys,
and obviously he did everything for NK. And even if she wasn't there, you know he might have called her or whatever, saying, listen, I just killed my wife, get my kids out of here, or something like that, you know
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It could be something as simple as that. And, she was trying to help, but it went sideways.
right.
You just don't know. But like what I was going to say was, I don't know if any of you guys are TikTokers. I personally am not, but I do have a child of TikToking age. And any of you that do have children that use TikTok will know what I'm talking about with those really annoying repetitive dance videos. But I'm going to say something I never thought I would say here. I actually saw a
I
really
was getting my
um,
daughter
um,
to create a TikTok account for me, and
oh
she was,
well,
what,
don't
you're too
you'll
old?
yeah, no, you'll not be getting me on any TikTok videos. But no,
I
what I was
love
gonna say
it.
was I saw a video the other day and I actually stopped dead and I rewatched it 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's this African American lady. She's so beautiful, and I would say she's about 35ish, and she's in her kitchen, and you don't see her daughter, but she's like doing her dishes or something, and she walks so beautiful, and the daughter walks into the kitchen and says something. This isn't verbatim, but something along the lines of, "Mom," and she's videoing the mom. Obviously, you don't see the daughter. And she's, "Mom, please, the police are coming. I've done something really bad," and she's like, clearly audibly upset, and the mum goes, "What have you done? What have you done?" And she instantly stops in her tracks, and the daughter goes, "Mom, I'm so sorry, look, the police are coming, I'm so sorry, Mom." And the mum instantly, without so much as a hesitation, says, "No, I did it, I did it, just call."
Yeah.
And she actually straight away dries her hands from doing the dishes, and she says, "Call my lawyer, I did it."
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, like, I am mind blown. Like, I'm a parent of a daughter, and I would like to think that I would react like that. But I was so mind blown that I actually had to stop and think, flip, that didn't even come into my head that she was going to say that. Like, it actually moved me. Like, I was really like, stopped and just thought, wow. And like the comments were just full of people being like, whoa, this is like a mum, like that's insane, like that's a mummy bear right there. And it's so true. And I have to think though how many people are in jail across the world, especially the United States. I mean, I'm not being funny, guys, but you do like to lock people up, versus your actual amount of people that live in your country. I mean, the incarceration rate is insane, but I do have to say, like, I just wonder how many people are sucking it up and serving time for people that didn't do, they didn't do the crime. I
Yeah.
do. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how many folk just jump in front of that train for other people that they love.
Yeah. And maybe
And that, like,
if this ever comes to trial, or if this ever gets reopened, I mean, I think we would be quite surprised, probably, who else was involved in that.
yeah, I do think sometimes when I really sit down and chart it all out, there is a potential for it to be quite widespread, and in the sense of not only the plan but also the ripples of the cover up.
Yeah.
The cover up would need to be quite extensive.
Yeah.
But then money and power are the two biggest motivators of any man. And I, challenge anyone to come at me on that, because money and power rule the world. And in that particular county, there's a lot of political action, and I know other creators really get into that, and fair play to them because they know what they're talking about. I don't. I only know how to really sort of navigate that world in a very basic way, so I don't get into talking about it. But that doesn't mean that I don't think about it and don't think and believe that it plays an element, because I really do. I think a cover up came into play here very quickly, and I do believe Anadarko money was behind it. I think political, uh, what's the word? Reverberate. I can't even say that word. Uh, but the effect it was going to have on the area politically and the landscape politically of that county, if something happened to mess with the sale of Anadarko, was going to be huge. So I really genuinely think that was a massive factor in play. I think if you take into consideration the area that they're in, that oil rich, very, very, very affluent area, and you take that into consideration, and there's no doubt, guys, we were all manipulated by the media, all of us. Every single one of us that turned on our TVs and saw, all American family, beautiful women, pregnant women missing, then beautiful children, and then all murdered by big bad adulterating big bad wolf. That's the border. That's what we got sucked into. And it's only when you get down to the bones of it that you start going, guys, this just isn't fitting together. Two and two are giving us 16, not four. Like,
Yeah.
there's something really wrong here, and the bits don't fit. And a lot of the time, you're trying to put, the square peg into the round hole. It's not working. And
Yeah.
the digital stuff you've shown tonight, Tanya, is just another example. The digital evidence doesn't lie. And again, I'm going to say, you guys get annoyed at Lana for talking about the digital evidence, but I can tell you now, she's on the money with a lot of it. I know the delivery is not something that a lot of you appreciate, and I know there's been controversy with Lana, but I'm going to be honest with you, there's so much of what she says is true. Like, I have the discovery here, and I had it printed out well over a year and a half ago, and once she started talking about the whiteout and stuff, I went and I got a graphics light box and I started lighting up different pages. And I can tell you now, see what she's talking about. There's pages she hasn't even discussed yet that are whited out like you've no idea. Like, reports, like actual reports, are insane. And dates that have been manipulated on things, and actually, I mean, some of them are just mind blowing. But that's what's important about that, is not just what they're changing, right? It's not what they're changing. It's the fact that, one, they have the balls to change it and to mess with stuff.
The
But
best example is that
yeah.
doll picture.
Oh my god, the doll picture,
You know,
exactly. And I
I
mean, we were worried about talking about the doll picture because we were worried about
I
because
wasn't,
this, well, I was. I was worried that people would just
because
get
it's the
so bogged
truth,
down
isn't
in
it?
it. It's the
He did
truth.
not
And
take that picture. End
no,
of story.
and the digital stamp on it, it makes it impossible. But what I was saying is, I understand that people just automatically hear things like that and go, hands over the ears, la 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 la. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But you've got to open your mind to the fact that they manipulated stuff. Okay, there's no getting around that. And whoever it is that's telling you that shouldn't be the loudest noise in the room. That's not what you should be hearing. You should be hearing the what the evidence they're telling you and not their delivery. And I know a lot of people just, that's the problem. They don't like the delivery method that Lana uses to get information over. And I mean, I'm just coming to you from my point of view and saying, look, some of the stuff I can understand why people think it's a reach, but other stuff I'm putting my hand to my heart telling you is absolutely on the money. There's stuff that has been tampered with a lot. And what you have to ask yourself is, if
The
this
whole
was
case
such
is
a,
tampered with
yeah, but if
because
this is such a slam dunk
they
case,
wanted
why
him
are they messing?
in the first place and nobody else.
Yeah, if this guy did this and it was so cut and dry, and what was it they said? We closed this case in 3 days. Yeah, right. And they're putting up plaques and patting themselves on the back. You guys, if you were here and you watched our media um video that had Lauren at the second half of it, but you watched that press conference, right? That was a 15-minute long press conference, and the first 7.5 minutes were them patting themselves on the back. 7.5 minutes of them congratulating each other. That's all
Yeah.
it was. And that's not me exaggerating. Go back and watch it. Literally, they come up and they smile at each other and they talk to each other. Oh, no, you're great. No, you're great. No, you did great. Oh, no, you did. Oh, thanks. You did great too. That's 7.5 minutes of that. And it's an absolute joke because we're left with more questions than answers. And if that really was the case, then why do you have to go and change stuff? Why do you have to go and manipulate things? Why do you have to change what time Amanda Thayer's plane touchdown? Because I can tell you now, Amanda Thayer was somebody I looked into a long time ago, and Lana only further cemented for me that the Amanda Thayer story didn't sit right. And Amanda Thayer, to me, is one of the most genuine people, her and her husband, in this entire scenario and this whole Watts Island. The Thayers, to me, are legit. They were so devastated. I've said this before, that was the most human emotion I've ever seen in them two sitting on that park bench crying their eyes out. I have never been so moved by an interview of people who I've not met before in my life. It was awful. It was so awful to watch because that was raw emotion. And they were so embarrassed and they were so hurt and they were so devastated by not only the loss of the girls in Shanann, but by Chris and his manipulation and how they fell for it. And I have to tell you, I know for a fact Lauren Arnold's statement has been doctored. It's 100% been doctored because I know the exact flight that Lauren Arnold came in on when she returned from her brother's funeral, and it did not get in to Denver airport at 3 o'clock. Okay, there wasn't a flight at that day at 3 o'clock. Lana is 100% on the money. They arrived just before 1 p.m. I have the flight information. It was the only flight of the day that got them in at that time. There was no delays, no pushbacks. She is 100% on the money when she tells you that document that is the original handwritten notes of Amanda Thayer's interview has been doctored. The time has been changed. The one from the 12:57 has been changed, and it just looks like it says 2:57, and there was no flight. And you have to remember that Amanda was sitting with her phone during this interview and references it several times, and isn't like Lauren where she's saying, "Oh, something I sent a text. Oh, I don't know when." Amanda is saying, I sent a text at 14:02 and she replied at 14:07. She's very on the money and her screenshots all support it. And I have to be honest with you, I'm telling you now, there was no flight. So that Amanda Thayer's not lying about that, guys. She's not lying. So I'm telling you now, she's 100% on the money. I went back, she put it out there months ago and she said, guys, go and have a look for yourselves. And I did, and she is right. So I have to hand it to her. The information that I've checked out, she's on the money. And go yourself, if any of you guys are into drawing and you happen to have a light box or you've got a little graphics pad, light up, print off some of the copies. I'll tell you one to have a look at. The towing report, there's one for you. Brad's towing. Go have a look at Brad's towing report and tell me that that thing hasn't been redacted with whiteout all over it. So why are they messing with the towing report? Why? Why are they messing with any of it, guys? They shouldn't have to mess with anything. But the problem is there was people doing things and saying things and not being honest with the law enforcement at the start of this, and it was going to muddy the waters. And law enforcement had to take action to make things nice and straight and black and white. And he's a bad man and he's going to prison and that's it, and stop asking questions. So, and if this digital evidence that Tanya showed you tonight isn't enough to make you stop and think, geez Louise, hold on a minute. This immediately wipes out of the. This is off the table that Chris dragged Shanann down the stairs. It's off the table that Shanann was murdered in the bedrooms. It's off the table that the girls were murdered in the bedrooms because they
It's off the
can't.
table that anybody was upstairs.
Nobody was upstairs. Nobody was murdered in the living room, or what we call the main floor area, the living area, because there was no motion. Okay, there was nobody going up and down stairs except Shanann, and she did 3 flights in 3 minutes. So, because I can see people joining in chat in the last 10-15 minutes, she did 3 flights in 3 minutes from coming in the front door. And as Tanya said, that's a hustle. Okay, that is a
Yeah.
hustle. She had 16 stairs with it on the main flight, Tanya.
16 steps upstairs to the
16
bedroom.
steps. So 16 up, 16 back down, and then 14 down into the basement. And then there was nothing. Her phone and her watch, well, her watch was in the house, but it didn't move anyway, but her phone, nothing. No movement, nothing. No one was moving with that phone. That was it. Nothing. So you have to understand, he kept moving. His kept moving, but didn't go up and down stairs. There was no elevation or no going down. So you have to understand, I instantly said straight away to Tanya, but what if he didn't have his phone on him? What if it was just lying on a chair? And she was like, no, but you see, look, he's still moving. So like I get it. I questioned it. I was like, hold on, like this doesn't make sense. We're missing something. But I really don't think we are. The more I look at it, Tanya's 100% on the money here. And and it was something that Lana said as well in regards to the well site. And if anybody that's here that listens to her too, you'll know she said there's no way. I can't remember who she was talking to in her mock trial, but she was talking to one of them and she explained the steps from his activity don't match. And Tanya's making that point now too, really clearly with the evidence here in front of you guys. Like there's it's on the screen. Go back and really look at it, and it's hard to see on a phone unless you really zoom in, but go back and have a look. It's there for you guys to have a look at it. Like that's why Tanya goes to so much bother to put it all in rather than just kind of chatting to you and not really giving you any info. So have a look for yourselves and see what she means. But you think about it, like think about the different combinations of what she could have done. And just remember, if she went up, she has to come back down because he didn't go up.
No, he
And,
didn't.
and it's not even like once.
423.
Yeah, it's
423.
423 motion starts again on the main floor, but that's still nothing. Nobody, sorry, Chris is not going up and down again. It's not like, okay, well, he didn't harm her until after 4. No, he even right through all morning
Good
and
night,
out on the site.
Karen. Thank you for watching.
No one, nobody has look at that neon box on the screen now. That's 12 midnight right through till he gets back to the house when you see him on body cam. No flights. No flights. No up and down. Still moving, but no up and down.
Neither on his work phone, just to make that clear.
Yeah. And I mean that's just crazy. When you look at those steps at the oil well, look at them. You're telling me that there's his watch and phone wouldn't have registered going up and down. We're not talking about 3 steps here.
Also,
92 steps.
the all over walking distance is very low. I mean, under 0.2 miles. That's like nothing. 200 yards, 100 yards, whatever.
Right. And if you
You
add
know?
all that up of coming and going from where he parked, because we know from his geotab where he parked to
Yeah,
where the actual tanks were, you add up
exactly.
all that coming and going
Yeah,
back and forwards, and it doesn't add up to the scenario that we've been sold of what he did. And
definitely.
I have no doubt either, guys, and I've said this, Tanya covered the Wisconsin stuff in the last live, and I've said this again and again and again. Those guys go there with questions for a reason. They didn't travel out there to have a chat. They traveled out there with a specific set of questions. And I'm not a fan of Tammy Lee. I just don't think she was particularly professional in the way she conducted the investigation or herself. And I think that Agent Coder was the opposite and behaved himself incredibly well. And I think that the questions that he asks Christopher Watts when he's there are very telling. And one of the things he asks, and if you go back, it's part two, I believe, in the second part of the interviews, and he's talking about the hatches and the order of, so did you go up and then you came down? Did you go up and you came down and then you went back up again? And he repeats himself several times. And the first time I listened to it, I was thinking, what's he going on about? Like, he was kind of waffling. And I thought, and I listened again and I listened again. And it stands out every time. And it's one of two things. He's either questioning the activity at the tanks, or he's questioning CW's story of the hatches and the motion. Did you open one and close the other? Did you close it and then open that one? Did you close that first and then open it, or were they open at the same time? And you don't ask that just, he's not talking about the weather. He's asking that for a reason. And nobody's talking about that. And I mean, we hope to dig into a bit further into the workings of the tanks and stuff, but just, I think a lot of this ties in. I do think Coder and the other investigators knew that a lot of this stuff just wasn't adding up. And I think they know that his story is BS. And I don't actually think, I'm one of those people that I don't think the corruption was particularly with the CBI. I don't. I don't. I think Tammy Lee was unprofessional, but I do think that she could have been a source of the leak.
If that would have came out in front of a jury that she posted on Facebook stuff with her husband on the 17th of August,
Oh,
he would have walked
dead
free.
in the
I'm
water.
telling you. He would
Can you
have walked
imagine?
free.
Can you imagine a politician doing that? They would have been sacked on the spot. There's no way a politician speaking about an open investigation. Oh my goodness. End of their career right there. End of their career. And instead she's given, talk shows and her own little specials. It's ridiculous. Her behaviour is shocking. But I genuinely believe he asked those questions for a reason, just like he asked, I can't remember the way he worded it, but would there be a reason why you're scared to tell me that they're dead, in regards to the children? And Christopher says, "Oh, isn't there a video?" And it's the way he sort of hesitates for a second and says, "You can't really see." And as I said earlier, conveniently left out of the summary that Tammy Lee wrote. So 5 hours of a trip into 31 pages. Catch yourself on, as they say here where I'm from. Catch yourself on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it was the same with Lauren. That's one of the things that flagged Lauren's interview when I saw a 2-page interview in the Discovery, which I'd never paid much attention to because I kind of thought, it's another one of these, friends talking a bit of nonsense, really, and how, it's a real non-issue. And then I looked and I saw, hold on, our audio's an hour and 45 minutes long. What? How did they cut this into 2 pages? Like, did
Yeah.
she really chat that much nonsense? But it wasn't that she chatted that much nonsense, really. It was the fact that they left everything out. Anything of any solid value that she said wasn't in it.
You're
So,
right.
they conveniently left out the entire bit where she admits that Sandra Rusek knew ahead of time what was going to be on the news and that it was going to be fake. So, I mean, that's a bomb, guys. Like that is a bomb. She just told you that Sandra Rusek knew before the media, before what was going to run, that it was going to be fake. Now, unless she has a crystal ball, there's only one people that could tell her that, and that's law enforcement, because they're the only people that knew what was said. So that's a bomb, guys. So I mean, we'll see you guys on Friday. We'll talk over the autopsy. Hopefully, you guys will be able to join us, and we'll hopefully won't it won't be too shocking for anybody in regards to the content. But there's definitely some eye opening stuff to go over, and um, we'll do it in the most respectful way possible, as always.
Yeah. And the next time after the autopsy we're doing on Friday, we're gonna get into the actual evidence they collected and compare it to what was tested, what were the test results, and what was never to be seen again.
Right.
Because there's also a lot of things that were taken into evidence and then suddenly disappeared. So we're going into that on the next midweek live, or maybe on the weekend, or
Right.
not on the weekend. I'm not at home, but yeah, definitely midweek next week, either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll get it sorted.
Definitely. Okay, guys, I hope we could show you something new other than friggin' interviews and
NK's interview
and
version
case interviews.
247.
Uh, and I hope we didn't bore you to death with all this stuff. And yeah, well, I would say we wrap it up
Yeah,
and
certainly.
see you guys on Friday then.
Congratulations,
Remember?
Tanya. You stayed awake the entire time. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, I did. It's not that late. It's only 1 a.m.
I know, to be fair, we are sort of 6 hours ahead of the last time, so.
All right. Okay, I put that link is already up for the scheduled live on Friday.
Yeah.
And the other one we're gonna put up when we have all the information together. All right. Okay, until then, have a nice night, have a nice week, have a nice weekend, and see you guys Friday. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Take it easy. Bye.